barred surf perch. They're one of the most common fish that you can find here off the California coast. And lucky for us, they're plentiful, they're easy to catch, and they're a great eating fish if you know how to prepare them correctly. So today we're gonna go over how to catch them, where the best places are to target them, and how to prepare them in a way that addresses the most common complaint about eating barred surf perch. So as I mentioned earlier, catching barred surf perch is relatively easy. They can be caught any number of ways. I've caught them on sand crabs, sandworms, jerkbaits, jigs, spoons, you name it. There's a lot of ways to catch barred surf perch. I suggest you try catching it different ways as well, because what may work one day may not work the next day. But if I had to choose a way that's given me the most success as far as overall quantity and quality, I'd have to choose these 2-inch paddletail grubs on a Carolina rig. They just seem to do the job, and they're durable, so you can use them again and again. That's a big deal when it comes to surf perch fishing, because these fish are so precise when they come after your lure. If you're using something like gulp sandworms, which are affectionately known as perch crack, you're gonna have to rebait your hook more often because the perch are able to pull it off the hook or bite it in half more easily. Now that's not to say that these paddletail grubs won't get their tails bit off every once in a while. That'll happen. It's just that the material is stronger than gulp sandworms, so it'll happen less often. Alright, so let's go over the rig. Just to let you know, this is not sized to scale, I'm just showing it so you can see all the connections. So I've got this paddletail grub on this size 4 bait holder hook, which is tied to a 4-foot leader. I'm using 12-pound fluoro, and that's tied to a barrel swivel. Then I've got a plastic bead and a sliding egg weight. I personally like using 1-ounce weights. You can go lighter or heavier depending on the conditions. The purpose of the plastic bead is to protect your knot from getting compromised from the egg weight hitting it over and over while fishing. So from there, I'll attach about 5 feet of mono top shot and finally tie that to the braid. If you're looking at this rig, you might be wondering why I bothered to tie on top shot over here if I already have a fluoro leader tied to the hook. And the reason has nothing to do with visibility. If you throw Carolina rigs into the surf, you're going to have to deal with tangles every once in a while, and that's especially the case if you're using braid for your main line. Tying a few feet of fluoro or mono top shot above the swivel dramatically reduces tangles because of its firmness over braid. You'll still get the occasional tangle, but they'll be a lot easier to undo. So perch aren't different from any other surf fish in that they like to congregate where all the holes in the troughs are. You basically just want to look for where the darker colored water is. This trough right here is a perfect example of that. Just throw your line in and reel in slowly, making sure that your line is tight so you can feel the bite. You don't have to throw it a mile. You'd be surprised at how close perch are to the shore. Remember, they're often coming in close to get to those sand crab beds. There we go. Feels like a pretty decent one. It is a decent one. Whoa, there we go. That's a nice one right here. So there is no size limit to catching perch, but there is a total bag limit of 10 fish. Now with that said, I wouldn't take anything below 10 inches because the meat yield isn't enough to make it worth it in my opinion. So I just choose to let those go so they can grow bigger. So most people aren't aware that surf perch are one of the few fish that actually give birth to live young. There are a couple of ways to determine this if you've caught one that you suspect might be pregnant. The first thing is to identify if it's a female or not. You can do this by looking at the anal fin. If it's one continuous fin, it's a female. If there's a divot in the middle, it's a male. If it's a female and the stomach is bulging more than usual, and it also looks like there's something bulging from the fish's butt basically, there's a good chance that it may be pregnant, and it might start giving birth right then and there because it's under stress at the moment. Let's say you decide to keep a pregnant surf perch, which I do not advise you do, but let's say you do that unknowingly. If you're stopped by a fishing game and they want to take a look at your bag, if they see those babies, each one of them will count towards your 10 perch bag limit, so you may potentially be over and subject to a fine. so just be aware of that. So barred surf perch are notoriously known as being mushy when cooked. I didn't know this when I first tried it. I cooked it up in a pan with a little butter, just like I would with any other fish that I'm trying for the first time. And that first bite was like, whoa, that's, mushy. So I looked online to see if this was normal, and my findings pretty much confirmed that perch are a mushy fish. So to combat that, you've just got to cook it well done, and I find that deep frying it gives you the best results. I did a video where I prepared it this way. It's a Thai dish called Pad Kra Pao. If you want to check it out later, I'll leave a link up right here. Like with a lot of foods, it's all in how you prepare it. For example, look at these other delicious foods that if you prepare them the wrong way, taste really horrible. For example, beef brisket. You wouldn't want to cook a big beef brisket like a steak. It would taste tough and chewy. You have to cook it low and slow and it becomes nice and tender. Shrimp's another example. It's so easy to overcook shrimp, which makes it rubbery. So the answer to that is to not cook it too long. Here's the weird thing. While surf perch is mushy when it's not cooked well done, it's actually pretty firm when it's raw. Like a little more firm than most fish you would eat raw. Nature's weird that way, I guess. I really like it this way too, and I did a take on spicy tuna on crispy rice in another video, replacing the tuna with surf perch. I also served it carpaccio style in the Halloween special video we did. So the main message here is surf perch is delicious, and if you prepare surf perch the right way, the mushiness thing becomes a non-issue. Alright guys, I hope you liked this episode. Go to the beach, catch some surf perch, and make something delicious. Please hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already, and I'll see you on the next one.